Hello y'all, this is Jayska from Adominastics YouTube channel. I figured I would try to make this a short video. I'm just going to try to talk to you all about my insurance and stuff, my health insurance. So in order to do that, I have to tell you about what happened last year. Okay, so every year you either have to renew your insurance or get a different insurance whenever you got health insurance around here in Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky or whatever. Especially me where I'm disabled and stuff, I really need insurance. And obviously I couldn't afford it without it. So anyways, what had happened was last year and stuff, around January and February of last year, I got my insurance had to be updated. Well, I got a letter in the mail. It was talking about with my insurance. I used to have Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, dual coverage advantage, parts A and B. Anyways, what had happened last year is I had got a letter in the mail. Now, this came from the Anthem place, so this will make more sense here in a minute, hopefully. So, anyways, I had got a letter from Anthem's insurance in the mail last year talking about how I could get more money through the month, like a gift card back every month to spend on like a fast food restaurant in my area to my choice. It was also advertised on television back last year when this was going on. This was a scam. So, anyways, what had happened, and this is why I fell for it, because they had all my information, and like I said, they sent me a printed copy, and it came from Anthem Insurance last year, back in January of last year or February of last year, whenever I was trying to redo my insurance. Anyways, I called that number on that letter or whatever that I got from them, and it sent me to, I still have all this wrote down on a notebook too, all the numbers that they used and all the information and stuff, because I was worried about if I was ever going to get, because I got frauded is what happened. It was the first time in my life. I'm 43 years old now, so I was 42 last year. So anyways, that was the first time in my life I ever got frauded, like over something like that. But anyways, when I called that number, they knew all my information. And see, normally back then with Anthem Insurance, I would get like so much money a month towards my medical supplies and stuff for free. And so I would just have to call them every month or whatever. So I was doing that like all last year and the years before that or whatever. But it was supposed to be something new, supposedly, that Anthem Insurance was offering. And they do that ever so often. Like insurance companies does that. Also, like things with the government does that, like Social Security, SSI benefits, different. Normally they do like a little bit of a raise each month or each year, I mean, starting in January within the new year of your medical benefits or your Social Security or SSI benefits. They usually do that. Even the government does that. So that's nothing out of the norm or anything. So, anyways, what had happened was I called that number and I got a hold of, and I'm not trying to knock on like nobody for being foreign or anything like that, but I got a hold of a foreign, sorry about the noise, got a hold of a foreign person, and they had told me that yes, that I qualified, and they had all my information or whatever. All I needed to do was tell them my social security card number, which I know I was real terrified to do so, but they already had my medical ID number, my medical information. They already knew what was wrong with me medically, and this was like a copy from Anthem's insurance. It looked just like it, so that's the reason why I fell for it. And then two, on top of it, they needed to know, they had my birth date. They just needed me to repeat my social security card number, and they needed me to, so that they could deposit it supposedly they needed me to read off my bank account number, my check-ins account number. So I did them things because I was so stupid. I fell for it because it came like in the mail in an envelope, and then I called that number and everything matched up, and they knew my medical identification card number and my birthday. So I fell for it. I thought I was going to be getting an extra, like, I think it was like $100 gift card each month that I was supposedly supposed to get extra, that I was allowed to spend on like restaurants or fast food restaurants or whatever that month or whatever. So anyways, I fell for it. And then how I started figuring out that it was a scam was, which I didn't want to, I put them up a fight, and I was being rude to them and hateful to them. I was actually cussing them throughout the interview. Whenever they started asking me for my social security card number, I was even questioning it then and getting defensive then. And when they was asking me about my bank card number, I was getting defensive and I was cussing them and everything. And they said I wasn't going to get scammed. It was part of the process and all this and that and everything else. They still kept their calm and they was real nice about it and everything. So anyways, I just started getting a bad feeling about it after I'd already gave them that information, got suckered into it, and they said that my gift card was on its way or whatever, that I'd have to do that every single month or whatever. So anyways, I called out. I didn't know what else I could do, and I knew the police wouldn't do anything. I mean, why would they? How would they even know where to start? I mean, in my opinion, they're halfway idiots anyways. That's just my opinion. I don't think that, in my opinion, I don't think that we should have as many police officers as we do, especially around here. But we do. That's the way it has been for years and stuff or whatever. But anyways, so what I did was I ended up calling. I wrote down all them numbers. I wrote down all the names. And it's a good thing I did on a notebook or whatever, of everyone I was speaking to, all the numbers in the companies, everywhere they keep transferring me, everything, every identification number, everything. I wrote that down in a notebook. And then what I ended up doing after I got off the phone with them, because I didn't have a good feeling about it, and I was argumentative and stuff to them. It's starting to sprinkle, y'all, so this video might get cut off, because sometimes if the raindrops hit the screen or anything, it automatically, for some reason, cuts off the phone. So, anyways, what I ended up doing was I called the bank that I go through, and I told them everything that had happened, and I told them all the numbers and stuff. And I talked to the manager and stuff out at the local bank that I go through, local to me. And so what we ended up doing, I went out there like one time too to talk to her in person, but the main manager or whatever of that bank or whatever. So what we ended up doing, there really wasn't nothing we could do, but it was a good thing that I wrote down all those numbers, the people's names, whatever, even if they was lying about their names, the identification card numbers, everything. It was a good thing that I did do that. And so we closed out my check-ins account at the time. That's how I got out of it. We just closed it out. I got a brand new check-ins account number. I still went through the same bank, but I would have to call every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, last year, from January to the end of February to the 1st of March, to get that all straightened out. And then finally, they ended up not frauding me, and I actually had to call that company several times, like those numbers that I had wrote down on the notebook for that company. And I called Anthem's main place out in California too, and they said they didn't have nothing to do with it. Obviously it was a fraud. And I think I even did that first thing once I got off the phone with the scammers or whatever, the company that was trying to fraud me. But anyways, they said that they didn't have nothing to do with it and stuff. So that was obviously the first big red flag, other than just the way I was feeling about the whole conversation and the phone call and just the way I was feeling in general about giving out my social security card number and also my banking account information to people like that, just anybody and everybody. And so what happened was I had to call them, and I canceled them, and I threatened them too. I threatened which it was all bullcrap, but still I was angry. I was even angrier the second time around, obviously, than what I was the first time around whenever I was on the phone with them. And I was threatening them every which way I thought I could, and I was just trying to scare them, you know? And each time I would ask to speak to their manager at that company. Well, this company was based out of Florida in the United States. And everyone I talked to, and I'm not trying to throw off on people or nothing like that, just because they're different nationality or whatever you want to call it, than what I am. But everyone I spoke to in the company that was trying to fraud my insurance and fraud me and take my identification, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to take my identity away. And this company was out of Florida. I don't really know exactly where at in Florida, but everyone I talked to, like I said, I'm not trying to be racist or nothing like that, but the first person I talked to, and they gave me these, I don't know how else to put it, but they gave me like these weird American names when you knew that, I'm not trying to be racist or prejudiced or whatever you call it, but you know that those names didn't belong, for the most part, to that group of people. Like, you know, usually that was, especially for their age group, that was out of the norm. But they would give us these, like, I don't know how else to say it, so I'm just going to say it. They give us these, like, whitewashed American names, like Michael or Sam or John or whatever. They would say their names was like something like that. Or just like Michelle or something. I spoke to one woman, and I could just tell by their voices. I'm not trying to be racist or nothing like that. I'm just telling y'all my experiences and stuff. But anyways, yeah, I could tell when I was talking on the phone, like the first person I talked to, I could tell that they was a Mexican or a Spanish speaking human or whatever. And then like the next time I called, I got a hold of a woman. It was a female, and she sounded like she was about my age, and she was like a type Indian female. And then whenever I finally got through, whenever I was trying to like report them and stuff and everything, and they finally put me through to their supposedly main manager, it was like a Indian from India male. And then when I asked them where they lived at or their address and all that, which I do have all this information wrote down, I still have that notebook just in case, you know. I'll probably keep it for the rest of my life just because, well, that's the time that I got frauded, and hopefully it's the last time. But anyways, it was someplace, I think it was someplace in northern Florida is what he said, but I can't remember exactly the name of the place or nothing. But it was a India type of Indian male is who was the main manager or whatever. And then I think, like, because I was so frustrated and so angry and stuff, and I just don't think that he probably never had a, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, pro women or nothing like that either, so don't get me wrong or nothing, but he's probably never had like a woman speak to him the way I spoke to him and stuff. So, because I admit, I become the devil itself whenever I'm mad, when I'm angry. And there's not a whole lot, I'm not bragging or nothing like that. I'm not trying to be pro-woman or all the way left or nothing like that. I'm just telling you all my experiences and my truth, how I acted or whatever. So anyways, and then I grew up in a very, whenever I was younger and stuff, I grew up in a household that it was nothing like cussing, like saying the worst words. I got that every day from my dad, and my mom was just as bad. I don't care how she pretends or acts like she is nowadays or whatever. She was just as bad growing up about cussing and stuff. and throwing her temper all over the place. And I'm not trying to make that as an adult as an excuse for myself either. I'm just telling you all my truth, my experiences. That's all I can do. I can't make stuff up. Just trying to be real or whatever. So anyways, yes, I took out my temper on that India male that I spoke to, the main manager. And I was calling him everything I could think of in this world in a bad way, talking to him and stuff. And he just got real quiet, you know. But he finally said that that they would release it, like release my check-ins account, which it didn't matter. I'd already changed my check-ins account and stuff at that time. But he said he would release it and stuff so that they wouldn't use it no more. My social security card numbers, supposedly. Oh, I'm sure they still have a record of both my banking account information and my social security card, and it sucks, but you know, and I probably won't ever get that stuff back, and they probably won't ever destroy it or nothing. But I did the only thing I really could do in that situation. I changed my banking account, and that was the main thing. I changed my bank account number, so if anything was withdrawn, I would have had, the bank was informed immediately. But they told me nothing was withdrawn and stuff, but I still had to check. That woman who runs the bank, the main manager of that branch, she told me I had to call every single day, and I did. I had to call every single day of the week that they were open, just to make sure. Ask the same thing every day if there was any withdrawals, any actions took against my bank account number, and all that. And so I had to do that from like January, February, even up to like the first week or two up in March. And then I quit fooling with it after that, because I mean, I guess it was pointless, because my bank account had already been changed over, my bank number. And if they had a hold of my social security number, which obviously they did, there was nothing I could do about it. But I already made it known that I made threats to them, which obviously there wasn't nothing I could really do about that either, or nothing. But anyways, I did what I could do, which was much of nothing, but at least I did write down some of that information on a notebook, and I still keep that notebook, and I'll probably keep that notebook as long as I'm alive or whatever. But that's the time that I got frauded and stuff, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one that got frauded during that time period. I'm sure there was a ton of people, especially older people, who were disabled or whatever on Social Security and stuff. I'm sure that they got frauded and stuff last year and stuff during that time too. That was back in 2024. Well, anyways, it looks like it's gonna start pouring the rain. But so I'm sure a lot of older people thought the same thing that I did and got frauded and stuff too, because I mean, your medical insurance, certain medical insurances like that, they do give you stuff like that. They didn't at the time. Well, they don't now, but and they didn't at the time. But I just thought it was a part of the insurance. I thought that was something new that they were starting, was to give like fast food cards and stuff like that. No, what it was is that company was going to charge me on my bank account every month like $4 or $5, and it was like a pyramid scam in a way. They was going to charge my bank account like $4 or $5. They was going to give me a gift card one time for $100, and then what they were doing was other people that was listed in that insurance group, which actually they had no part of, the Anthem, insurance group. They was going to select a random person that signed into that group, and I would still be charged like $5 every single month, no matter what. But I wouldn't get the $100 gift card every single month. It would rotate to a different person in that insurance group, supposedly every month. So in other words, everybody who signed up to that, they was getting deducted $5 a month. And it was kind of like a pyramid scam. It was on rotation and stuff. that you was paying out of your bank account for someone else in the group to get the $100 gift card, fast food gift card every month. So it was a complete scam and stuff. And I don't even know if you would have actually got that gift card or not, and it don't matter now. But I'd say it wasn't even going to them. I'd say it was going to the people who made this scamming thing in the first place. If I was just guessing, I'd say it was going to the people who down there in Florida or whatever who was trying to do the scamming. I'd say that some of them got our Social Security cards though, or cards or whatever, and I'd say by that they probably got our identities and stuff. If they were trying to be not so legal crossing the border or whatever you want to call it into America. That's what I'm assuming anyways, what happened. I don't know though. But anyways, I'll tell you what happened this year. I didn't get frauded this year, but the same thing happened similar thing happened this year. Okay, back in January, I got a letter from my insurance, and I was still on Anthem insurance, because I was always told by a lot of people that unless if I actually won the lottery, like the Powerball or Mega Million lottery, money lottery in the United States, that I had the best insurance back then that there was. And I'd say I probably did. That's what I was always told whenever I was on Anthem insurance and stuff. And for the most part, it probably was the best of the insurances that you could have and stuff. I have some bills from hospital bills. I don't know how much in debt I am to bills from like the hospital or nothing, but I have some, but I don't probably have as many as what most people would have on other insurances. And I don't know how it is all over the rest of the United States, but I know I would say for the past, I don't know, I would say at least the past 20 some years or so or longer, I don't think anyone really has to pay for insurance unless if you're making like you're the top of the top, like filthy rich or whatever. I don't think anybody in the state of Kentucky, from what I know and heard other people say, and I don't know what that level is. It has to be a real high number, because I know people who have made really good money over the years and they still never have to pay for insurances or nothing. So that would have to be an extremely high number. So, yes, in my opinion, I think that the government needs to be doing some revamping of insurance and considering who they're paying insurance for, because it seems like to me that number's really, really high up there, on people not having to pay for health insurance and stuff. But anyways, so after this year, whatever, when I got that letter, it said that my insurance, Anthem Insurance, was going to quit supplying insurance for the whole state of Kentucky. So they're no longer in contract with the state of Kentucky for insurance. So I couldn't even get Anthem insurance even if I wanted to get Anthem insurance. So what happened was someone called me a while back, well, a month or two back, when I got that letter, and they asked me if I was informed and stuff that I knew about the change, and they said that I have like 3 or 4 choices in the state of Kentucky that insurances are willing to work with Kentucky, and those I forgot which all of them are for sure. I know one of them was WellCare, and I actually have WellCare. I have a part of WellCare anyways, and my 2 daughters have WellCare insurance, because I think WellCare represents Kentucky anyways. That's what most people have is WellCare insurance. But and then I had a part of it where I had A and B on my insurance through Anthem, and then and I still have WellCare insurance that they will pay for most of my prescription drugs or rugs. I'm sorry, for until the end of this month, until the end of March. But at the beginning of April, I won't have no insurance. But anyways, so I had the choice of WellCare, Humana, I think was one of them, and then United Healthcare, and then there was another one, but I forgot the name of it. So anyways, I chose United Healthcare, and it was supposed to be the best of those 4 choices that I could have or whatever that would fit all my healthcare needs and concerns and pay for most of my prescription drugs and or rugs and stuff. So anyways, and it's very important with somebody like me to have insurance because where I'm poor first anyways, and then secondly where I have so many health problems. So I ended up choosing United Healthcare, and I thought the worker that I talked to on the phone, and I wrote down all the information and stuff again too, and I thought that they would be sending me like a medical card so I could go to the doctor because I've been without a medical card or my medications now for months because of this, because of the rotation over of my health care again. And so, anyways, I haven't had medications, none of my medications, not even my seizure medications, now for like months. I mean, probably since like January, some of them even before January because of this, because or the insurance is not on contract no more with the whole state of Kentucky. And so I called them back the other day because I still haven't, I knew it would take a little bit of time to receive my medical card number and information through the mail. Well, I waited a month or so and I still haven't received it. I know they say sometimes it takes 6 to 8 weeks or whatever. Well, it had been over that time period. So I called them again the other day and told them what was going on and stuff and wrote down all the numbers and the information again too, because I'm still going to try this United Healthcare out because supposedly they're not in Kentucky, but they're one of the biggest ones that are supplying for Kentucky. And so that's what I have to go by. That's what I have to go with, because if I had switched to like Humana, or if I switched completely over to WellCare, they're not going to pay for like all my medications, and I'd have to pay out of pocket for my medications. And plus, if I ever was to get put in the hospital again, which I have been other times before in the past or whatever, several times, I would have a huge hospital bill because they're not going to coverage it all. They're not going to pay for it all. And so I just got to wait things out, unfortunately. And that's why I haven't been going to the doctors and stuff like I should. And that's why I haven't been taking medications like I should, because I don't have them to take. And yeah, I could get them to supply my my medications, but then that would just mess me up completely. So I'm just starting all new at the first of the month. Hopefully by then I will receive in the mail my new medical card through United Healthcare. But y'all let me know in the comments if you've watched this video of me rambling on this far along or whatever, and tell me if y'all have any experience with United Healthcare insurance, because that's what I'm going to be supposedly switching to if everything works out or whatever. And hopefully I'm not getting frauded again over insurance like I did last year. So, but anyways, that's supposedly what it's going to be switched to, is United Healthcare. The sky is getting very, very cloudy, gray, and dark. It's not really windy or breezy or nothing though. And it's not really cool. It feels perfect out here. Perfect weather as far as that goes. But yeah, so I've been kind of worried and stressed out and stuff about my insurance and stuff, you know. And then on top of it too, I haven't been feeling the best in the world. I don't want to like spread negativity out here into the world or speak it on my life or nothing, but my stomach has been killing me here lately. And just like how it always does in my side and stuff. And then two, I have been having signs of having seizures and stuff like I did before with the headaches. And obviously stress adds, and worry and aggravation, all the above, the bad things, adds to all that and stuff. But, and then I've been getting dizzy like and stuff. I haven't told y'all my seizure story still yet. But I've been having those feelings like I did before and stuff. whenever I did have seizures and everything. But anyways, that's what's going on with my health insurance now. Hopefully it'll be straightened out at the first of the month is all I know, and hopefully I can go see a doctor and stuff. But right now I'm without insurance and medication, everything. So, but I don't know. I don't know if they were trying to fraud me this time of year around or whatever because of my insurance or what. It sucks that Anthem is no longer providing for Kentucky, that they don't have a contract with Kentucky people on disability and stuff no more. I don't know if they do, not in general or what the deal is, but I just know that that's what they said, that they're not in contract no more, and I'd have to find a different insurance. But I don't know. And so y'all let me know in the comments if you don't care, and tell me if y'all have any experience at all with United Healthcare, because that's the one supposedly I'm going to be switching to and stuff. And I really didn't have any other options, like I said, but WellCare of Kentucky, and you would think that would be the best one too for Kentucky residents and stuff, because it's the one that Kentucky kind of runs. That's a weird looking cloud formation. It kind of looks like a spiral or a number 2, or like an anchor or something. But anyways, I think it is good insurance for people who are actually the opposite of that, the people who are not on disabilities and stuff, or don't have disabilities and stuff in Kentucky. But I could be wrong. I know a lot of people, and I'm talking people who make over $100,000 a year in money, and for around here in a rural place, and we're like pretty much, in my opinion, we're probably about 20 so years behind like the whole United States itself or whatever. But as far as a lot of things go. But anyways, I just feel like that, I don't know, that there's like $100,000 a year around here is good money. That's like real good money. That's like being rich around here. And I think there's a whole lot of people that make $100,000 a year or more, and they still have fully covered insurance in the state of Kentucky. And I don't know if it's like that. I don't think it is. I do not think that's how it works around the whole United States. But it's been like that for over 20 some years, because I know people that's had to pay nothing, like whenever they had their babies and stuff years ago at the hospital and everything was fully covered. And so, in my opinion, I just think that, I don't know, I think the government needs to be revamping that stuff. And so, especially here in the state of Kentucky, they need to be looking into all kinds of fraud in the state of Kentucky, in my opinion. Because it's been like that all my life, like about people like not wanting to work, and everybody, it's kind of like a right-of-way of life and stuff for people who are not disabled, people who's never worked a day in their life or whatever. They'll go out here and they'll either get on like SSI, or they'll sign up, and they and then that's another thing I don't agree with, the whole government system. And I think it's mostly here in the state of Kentucky, eastern Kentucky and stuff, is like, let's say a person's really never worked a day in their life or whatever. The therapy thing, that started here about at least 15 years ago. That started big time around here. But if you're like, or if you're ex-ruggy, in my opinion and stuff, and I'm talking about here where I live at in eastern Kentucky, so whatever. But anyways, if you're like an ex-ruggy or whatever, or ex-rug addict or whatever, if you just go to a clinic around here or whatever, you get full coverage insurance. On top of that, you would get income. They would sign you up to try to get you, especially if you've never worked or nothing, they'll try to sign you up to get SSI disability. And on top of that too, no, I don't have this, but that's what a lot of people do. On top of that too, if you're taking, obviously I don't have it because I don't do rugs or whatever, but if you're taking, we'll say sub ox, y'all know what I mean. If you're on sub ox, you know what I mean, and you're ex-ruggy or whatever, they'll sign you up to get, and this has been going on in here, around here in eastern Kentucky for at least 15 years or more. But because you know, everybody knows it's all about the money. Everybody knows that it's all about who the big pharma pays, where the money comes from, and all that. And they'll sign people like that. They'll try their best to get them on SSI disability, and then after that, they'll get them on like case management, and that gives them another extra $500 a month. All they have to do is continue the SUB AUX, and then they have to go to therapy every month, and that's what keeps them. And then they, you know, they have to see like their case manager too, with their therapist and stuff, and that's what gets them an extra $500 a month. And we're talking about people who's, just because they're ex-ruggies, in my opinion, they've never worked a day in their life, and they've been more than capable of it, or whatever. They just don't want to work. And so, and that's just all my opinion, and it's not allegedly, it's the truth is the truth. But anyways, that's how it works around here. And then not just that, people like that around here, it's been like that all my life. People who will not want to work or whatever, just because we are in a poor environment. We've always been in a poor environment, even back when the coal was here. It wasn't the coal miners. Well, I mean, yeah, coal mining was a money maker back then compared to a lot of jobs, but it really wasn't the coal miners who was bringing in all the money and stuff. It was the corporations, or whatever you want to call it, the owners of the coal companies or whatever. But anyways, so another thing what they'll do is people who make over $100,000 or more a year or whatever, they give them free healthcare insurance and stuff around here. And that's another thing I just don't agree with, in my opinion. I don't think it's right. And then also, another thing is like people who's never worked or whatever, they'll give them, like, they'll just say, oh, they worked, you know, cleaning houses or whatever for income tax money, even if they just did it one day out of the year or whatever, supposedly. People around here will do that and act like that just to get income tax money back. But that's all my opinion. My youngest daughter is sitting here hitting me on the back. She wants my attention, so I'm going to get off of here, y'all, and I will talk to you later. And I appreciate y'all who watch. So thanks. Bye-bye.
You recorded me in that video.
Huh?
You recorded me in that video?
I did not.
Yes, you did.
And the phone went off.